Hey, everybody. So, in keeping with my theme of trying to bring value to everybody during these difficult times that we're all going through with the lockdown and, with the pandemic, I'm bringing you today a really good friend of mine. Her name is Rachel Benson, and Rachel is a therapist. Rachel is just one of the most steady Eddie, nicest, grounded people that I know. I've known her for about 5 years now. She's somebody that, when I have something that I need to bounce some ideas off of or, check to make sure that I'm thinking straight, I usually will call Rachel and get her thoughts. She's got some really great advice to give to everybody now that we're going through what we're going through. And I just thought, man, this is such a great time to introduce her to you guys. So without further ado, don't click stop yet. Here's my friend Rachel Benson. Hey everybody, I'm lucky to be here today with a super special guest. As you know, I'm trying to give something valuable to everybody during this lockdown, and I'm interviewing either friends of mine or people that I do business with. In this case, this is not only a really good friend of mine, she's also a referral partner of mine. She's a family therapist, and her name is Rachel Benson. Rachel, thank you for joining us here today.
Thanks so much for having me, Barry.
Of course, of course. So guys, before we started this video, Rachel and I, we sat down and we kind of just talked about what's going on right now. We've got with COVID right now that it's creating, all sorts of problems that normally we don't deal with, right? Like, maybe you're worried about money. Maybe you're worried about getting sick. Maybe you're worried because, you and your family are around each other 24/7 and it's creating, lots of problems that you might not have had before. Maybe you have kids and you're worried about them going back to school and them getting sick. And so, where I kind of wanted to start this with Rachel was just to, maybe talk to her and ask her, like, she's a family therapist, but it usually, she told me, starts with one person who maybe they just feel like they're not right. Like, there's something wrong. And they'll come to Rachel and, initially, Rachel, I would assume that are you doing a Zoom meeting with them or a phone call?
Yes, I've been doing virtual sessions, so it could be on Zoom, but there's other platforms as well that we can do video sessions on. So whatever people feel most comfortable using is what we can do. But yes, usually I see clients individually, and they come in and one of the first things I ask them is why they're here. What's been going on, and sometimes they are able to verbalize exactly what's bothering them, but other times it might be more symptoms that they're explaining to me. So maybe they can't sleep, or they're fighting a lot with the people around them, or they just feel sick to their stomach all the time because they're worrying a lot about all the uncertainties that there are in the world right now. And so we identify what's really bothering them and what would make them feel better, what that would look like for them to feel better, and then we start working towards that.
So Rachel just said something important that really, kind of struck a nerve with me. You guys, I mean, I'm not a spring chicken. I just turned 60 and I've had my share of problems. And, sometimes, I found in my past, I think I know what the problem is, but it's just kind of the manifestation of what the real problem is. So I was asking Rachel, like, do people usually come in and kind of know what's wrong with them and they can't grapple with it? Or is it something that you have to dig deeper into to try and find out maybe what the real problem is? So Rachel, I went into pretty good detail with me on that. Why don't you share your experience?
Sure. Well, I think that my style as a therapist is to get to know the person first. So, we all as adults have a whole background, a whole history to our lives that make us who we are today. And so I do try to get to know what that history is for my clients so that I have a better understanding of what they're coming to me as, and where maybe some of their patterns, their thought patterns, or their mindset might be stemming from. And then we look at what their current issues are that they're trying to solve, and those things that would help them feel better about themselves and about what's happening around them. And we kind of work to break down maybe sometimes long habits that they formed, and change their mindset into a more positive mindset to help them feel better on a day-to-day basis. So it's a little bit of looking back into history, and then a lot of working on what's happening in the present as well.
Yeah, Rachel also said something really super important to me that I wholeheartedly agree with, which is, I think that what we're part of the problem that we're all dealing with, and I'll speak from a personal viewpoint, is that, you know, identifying the things that we have control over, and being able to actually figure out, okay, well, this is the thing that I have control over. How do I want to go about trying to make a change there? Or just recognizing that this is something I don't have any control over. How am I going to accept the fact that I have no control? And is there any part about this that I can control that will make that part that I can't control a little bit easier to deal with? So, yeah, Rachel was talking about, I'm hoping that you guys take something good out of this, but I still want you to call Rachel, is that, Rachel's going to help you identify, not only what seems to be bothering you, but also like figure out, okay, well, is this something you can control? Is this something you can't control? Is this somebody that you have influence over? So Rachel, why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I think that the feeling of out of control is such a big feeling for so many people right now. Uncertainty is such a big factor in our lives right now, and people feel really out of control when things are uncertain. And even something as simple as, when are things going to go back to normal? When is the coronavirus going to be done? When is the economy going to recover? Those are questions that we do not have control over right now, and we can pine over them, the answers to those all day long, but we're going to keep going in this, spinning cycle because there isn't an answer to that. And so helping my clients accept that they don't have that answer right now, but that there are things that they indeed can control around these issues, right? So we don't know when everything's going to go back to normal, but how can you make your life better with things being the way that they are right now? Those are things that we can have control over. So Barry, I think you said it perfectly, trying to identify those smaller things that we can have control over to give us that sense of not being just completely overwhelmed and out of control, and helping my clients identify what those are. And then I also think that sometimes, and you and I were talking about this earlier as well, that when we do find the things that we can control, for instance, a lot of people are getting laid off right now. And so what do? They might be in a financial constraints if they don't have their job. And that feels so daunting, right? But there are steps that people can take. But the big picture of, oh my gosh, how am I going to support myself and my family for the next 10 years without this job, feels like climbing Mount Everest. And when you think about climbing Mount Everest, a lot of people just want to hide and give up and not even. And so a big part of what I do for people too is helping them find those baby steps to take along the way. And after you take 10 baby steps, well, you've already reached base camp now at Mount Everest. And then we take some more baby steps, and we solve the problem that feels so daunting to begin with.
That's right. Yeah, I was telling Rachel that when Shane was growing up, I used to tell him, son, if your house is filthy, the last thing you want to do is set up a day on a Saturday where you're going to think about cleaning your entire house. You're better off saying, on Saturday, I'm going to wash the dishes. And, the dishes have piled up, because the next step after you wash those dishes is you're probably going to clean the counters. And then you're probably going to clean the floor. Then once you're done with the kitchen, you go, okay, well, next thing is I probably should go clean the bathroom. So, yeah, I mean, just being able to identify, like, not, the problems, but also, like, okay, well, what's the most important problem that will make the greatest impact if I can overcome that problem? And sometimes overcoming it is just accepting it. I was telling Rachel that, when I can tell you that when I am worried, or when I am fearful, or, I'm almost paralyzed. Like, I don't want to do anything but just kind of sit there and freak out. There's some sort of comfortability in freaking out that I think everyone gets. I know you don't think that, but why do we do it? if freaking out or worrying isn't somehow or another satisfying something inside of us, why do we spend so much time doing it? But as soon as you can all of a sudden go, okay, well, wait a minute, I'm not in control of that. And I'm going to, I have to accept this. The fact that I'm stuck in the house right now, this is something I have to accept. That doesn't mean that I can't change little things inside the house while I'm doing it. All of a sudden you accept it, and all these different possibilities come to you, and you start thinking in terms of being a problem solver. Maybe it's time that if you are one of the unfortunate people that have lost your job, maybe it's time that you start thinking about a new career change. Maybe that's not even on your radar right now because you're so worried and petrified about the next step that you're not thinking about, that the fact that maybe that might actually be a good thing for you. So coming to grips with these different problems, I think it expands your mind, and all of a sudden you're open to making change, So, Rachel, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think accepting and knowing that you're not alone and normalizing some of the anxieties that we're all feeling is such a great point. And it reminds me, I actually lead a postpartum support group every week of new moms with babies between birth and a year old, and we've been doing it virtually. And what I find is, these moms are coming in with a lot of anxieties about having a new baby, just being a new mom, all the hormones that are, going crazy, but also all the worries about COVID. And they're coming thinking they're the only ones feeling that way. And then they're in this group with, 10 other new moms who are also going, yes, that's exactly how I feel. Oh my gosh, I was just thinking that last night. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, it's okay to feel this way. Everyone in this situation feels this way. And it takes all the negative feelings about feeling that way out of it, because they start to realize that it's normal to feel these ways, and it's okay to have feelings, and what we do with those feelings is everyone can react differently, but when you understand that you're not the only one, that you're not going nuts, that it really helps to relieve a lot of that anxiety. So yes, I agree with you 100%.
It's true. It's like I've actually had serious conversations with people where they have told me, that they were feeling the same way. And we both bust out laughing. It was so serious and so dramatic. And God, if you only knew it's happening to you too. Oh my God. Why am I thinking this way? Right. So yeah, guys, I mean, I'm lucky. I told Rachel, I've got my wife. I get to talk to her every day. I get to get a hug from her every day. I haven't touched anybody since COVID started. I can only imagine what it's like for you guys that are single right now, that don't have somebody to talk to like that. So, and if you're a mom, Rachel, she is an incredible family therapist, and she was a doula for a while. I mean, she really understands. Where you were a doula for a while, right?
Oh, I was a childbirth instructor for a while.
Childbirth instructor.
Yeah,
There you
so
go.
I was helping families prepare for
Yes.
birth. Yes.
There you go. So I correct myself. So, I mean, man, if you are pregnant right now, I was telling Rachel that, when Shane's mom was pregnant with her, I mean, man, hormones were, I mean, most men can't even remotely relate to what, women that are pregnant go through now. Compound that with everything that's happening right now. And this is something also we see with, with the protests and whatnot. I mean, it's hard for all of us to remember that the world isn't just in this room right here. There are people that have it way worse than all of us, and it's important to stay empathetic and to remember that count your blessings. I guess that's what I'm really, no matter how bad you have it, you need to understand that there are people that have it worse than you. And it's super helpful to have somebody like Rachel that you can talk to, that's going to help you make sense of those feelings. So I really encourage all of you guys I'm going to put all of her information down below here. At least give her a call, start the conversation. Don't wait till it's too late. Don't wait until all of a sudden, your problems seem like they're so overwhelming that, you're going to say or do something that, could permanently damage you or somebody that you care about. give Rachel a call. She'll schedule a Zoom call with you. Anything you'd like to say in parting here, Rach?
Yeah, I think, just when you were talking about that you get to have a hug from your wife, and that, it must be hard for single people right now, not having that contact with others as much. I think I just wanted to point out that, I work with a lot of individuals in and out of relationships and trying to navigate relationships too. And with the pandemic going on, a lot of relationship struggles have come out more than normal as well. And so I work both with couples together, but also with just individuals who are grappling with relationships they might be in and wondering if they're going to stay in, or trying to find that right relationship for them. So that's also something that I do a lot of work with as well.
Awesome. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for doing this with me. And guys, I'll just part in saying, I know Rachel really well. We've been friends for about 5 years now. I just can't say enough good things about her. I don't want to get too much into detail, but Rachel has been instrumental in my life because of the group that we both belong to, B&I. She's just really helped me navigate, different personalities. She was the president of our chapter a couple of times in BNI, and she's just a super caring, giving, she's not the kind of person who's just out to make a quick buck. So I really encourage you to get a hold of her, whether it's you or if you know somebody that can use somebody like Rachel, please call her. Okay. Everybody, please stay safe. And please be empathetic, because there's a lot of craziness going on there right now. We all need to be cognizant of each other's pain. I think it would make life a lot better place to be. Okay. Thanks, you guys. Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks so much, Barry.